Welcome back to Vuln Vibes. Today we're doing a deep dive into something pretty critical affecting Jenkins Docker images,
Yeah, that's right. We're talking about SSH host key reuse.
specifically CVE 2025-32754 and CVE 2025-32755. And this isn't some, theoretical exercise.
No, not at all. This is a concrete flaw in a tool many DevOps teams rely on heavily.
And for our audience, security pros, the potential impact here is, well, it's significant.
Absolutely. The core issue is that certain Jenkins Docker images, the ones for SSH build agents,
Right.
they were built embedding the exact same SSH host keys in every single instance created from that image version.
Wow. Okay, so just to be clear, every time someone spun up a container from one of these affected images,
Correct. They all got identical SSH host keys.
which completely breaks the whole point of SSH host keys, right? They're meant to be unique identifiers.
Precisely. It undermines that fundamental trust principle. The affected images are Jenkins agent up to version 6.11.1.
Okay.
And importantly, all versions of the old deprecated Jenkins slave image.
All versions of that one. Ouch.
Yeah. The advisory literally says, all containers based on images of the same version use the same SSH host keys. No ambiguity there.
So let's talk impact. If every agent looks the same from an SSH perspective, what kind of attacks does that enable?
Well, the most obvious and frankly easiest one is a man-in-the-middle attack, MITM.
Because the client, the Jenkins controller, has no way to tell if it's talking to the real agent or an imposter.
Exactly. An attacker on the network path between the controller and a vulnerable agent can just step in, impersonate the agent.
Right.
And the controller won't see any SSH warnings, no host key changed message, nothing. It looks perfectly normal.
And that, for anyone working in secure development, that's a huge red flag for supply chain attack.
A massive door opening for them. Think about it. An attacker in that position could potentially
Intercept build artifacts.
intercept, modify them, yes, or steal credentials and secrets that are being passed around during the build. API keys, passwords, you name it.
Or even inject malicious code directly into the build pipeline itself.
Definitely. Silently inject malware or backdoors into the software you're building and shipping. Because that trust is broken, it can happen without immediate signs.
That's pretty sobering stuff, especially in these distributed, containerized environments.
It really is. It hits right at the heart of trusting your build infrastructure.
Okay, so that's the bad news. Is there good news? I understand Jenkins has addressed this.
Yes, thankfully. For the currently supported image, Jenkins Agent, they've released version 6.11.2.
And what's the fix in 6.11.2?
It's actually quite straightforward. They've stopped embedding those pre-generated keys in the image build process.
Okay.
So now when you start a container from 6.1.2 or later, it generates new, unique SSH host keys on its first boot.
As it should have been doing all along, really.
Pretty much, yes. This restores the unique identity for each agent instance.
That's good for people using /agent. But you mentioned the older slaves image earlier.
Yeah.
What's the story there?
Yes. And this is critical. The Jenkins slave image is deprecated, meaning it's end of life, no longer supported, and it will not be receiving any updates, including a fix for this vulnerability.
So if you're still using Jenkins slave, you're just stuck with this vulnerability.
If you were absolutely exposed, yes. The official recommendation, the only safe path, is to migrate immediately to the supported Jenkins agent image.
Right. No patching that old one. Migration is the only answer.
Correct. Staying on slave is just accepting this risk indefinitely.
Okay, so boiling this all down for everyone listening, what are the immediate action items?
First, check your Jenkins setups. Identify which Docker images you're using for SSH build agents.
Find out if it's /agent or the old slave.
Exactly. If you're using Jenkins agent, make absolutely sure you're on versions 6.11.2 or newer. Update immediately if you're not.
And if you find you're still using Jenkins slave anywhere,
then migration needs to become a top priority, like yesterday. Plan it, execute it, get off that deprecated image. The risk of a silent MITM attack in your build pipeline is just too high.
it really underscores how these seemingly small configuration details in CI/CD can have massive security implications, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. It's easy to focus on the application code, but the pipeline itself, the tools, the infrastructure, they're critical parts of the attack surface.
Makes you wonder, what other basic assumptions are we making about our build tools that might not hold up under scrutiny?
That's the key question, isn't it? Continuous vigilance, validating configurations, maybe even adding automated checks for things like this within the pipeline itself.
A good reminder that Security needs to be baked into the entire development life cycle, not just bolted on at the end.
Couldn't agree more. It's about trusting, but also verifying every step of the way. Perhaps thinking about, what implicit trust relationships exist in your pipeline that haven't been explicitly validated. That might be a good place to start looking.
Excellent point. Something for everyone to think about. Thanks for breaking that down.
My pleasure. Important stuff to get right.